Please subscribe.
You'd be pardoned for not perceiving the 2020 Honda Civic. While the name community may return pictures of economy-sized punishment boxes, the present Civic shares more for all intents and purpose with the Accord than it does with days of old's transgression receptacles. The 2020 Civic suspending vehicle covering up on display, spruced up as a midsizer now and again. Our TCC rating of 6.5 depends on the car and mirrors the Civic's grade remaining on our component and style scale. The related Honda Insight improves, it's outfitted with better headlights and a subtler style, and shows signs of improvement efficiency, and we exceptionally propose that mid-door top-level Civic customers take a gander at the inside as well. Like a year ago, the Civic is accessible in LX, Sport, X, and Touring trim levels spread among vehicle, car, and hatchback body styles. The hatchback offers a sport touring trim that is a mashup of the two. The Civic Si is accessible as a car or vehicle, the Civic Type R is hatchback as it were. The vehicle is progressively well known with purchasers and we suggest it for suburbanite detail. Contrasted with the car and hatchback, the vehicle is increasingly saved in its style and progressively agreeable in the back. The insides of every one of the three are upscale and top-notch, more than its $20,680 passage cost would demonstrate. A base 2.0-liter inline-4 is standard in the car and roadster and makes 158 drive. It can group to a ceaselessly factor-programmed transmission, CVT, or 6-speed manual at times. A 1.5-liter Turbo 4 that makes 174 horsepower regularly is a spend-up choice, and it's progressively proficient as per the EPA's adding machines. We suggest it. The Civic Si draws control from a similar motor with the turbos tightened more tightly. It makes in excess of 200 horsepower. All Civics get programmed crisis braking, dynamic path control, and versatile voyage control to supplement generally excellent accident test scores. Inadequately appraised headlights let the side down, in spite of the fact that the Insight's a top safety pick plus by the FS, and one of the most reasonable ones accessible. Each Civic nails the nuts and bolts, Bluetooth availability, control highlights, and dynamic well-being hardware, yet the Civic acts as a decent incentive at $24,630 as a car, $24,430 as a roadster, or $25,080 as a hatchback, and incorporates a 7.0-inch touchscreen with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto similarity, a higher-speed USB port, warmed front seats, double-zone atmosphere control, 17-inch wheels, and a traveler side camera framework that shows the traveler side vulnerable side on the infotainment screen. The EPA says most Civics will oversee 30 miles per gallon joined or better, as indicated by their tests. After some time, the Civic has developed from a hatchback to a vehicle to a car. For 2020, it's each of the three. This year, our rating applies to the vehicle, which we think will be the most famous among purchasers. The Roadster is sleeker and the hatchback is progressively down to earth, yet in addition busier. Our rating of 7 mirrors the vehicle's attractive outside and great inside. On the off chance that the Civic looks somewhat scandalous for your preferences, we'd propose strolling over the parcel to see the Insight, a related half-and-half vehicle that takes the Civic's looks uptown much more. The vehicle's shape channels the Accord, other fastback cars, and even some extravagance cars, with a smooth roofline. The vehicle and hatchback are firmly related in profile, the car plunges directly at the tail to offer a little trunk, and the incubate just continues onward. The car's long queues give a false representation of the Civic's little measurements. It glances extraordinary in sport trim with 18-inch haggles highlights. We like the hatchback's reasonableness, however it's excessively occupied for our tests, particularly in sport trim. The hatchback's caught up with styling is a gesture to the remainder of the world's preferences. It's more famous abroad than it is in the US for more youthful purchasers. That may not make any difference, however day-by-day workers could feel burned out on its ludicrous looks. The Civic Type R? That is only a bring forth gone up to 11. Inside, the Civic is nearly calm with numerous inside stockpiling containers, cubbies, and cup holders. The low and wide run isn't as exhausting as it has been previously. It's outwardly isolated with flat groups of gleaming dark plastic or brush trim, and a 7.0-inch touchscreen on most forms separates the space. Base renditions get a 5.0-inch show that doesn't exactly do a similar stunt, notwithstanding. Doling out a solitary digit to the Civic's exhibition potential is harder than allotting a solitary digit to tacos, every one of them. There are 3 accessible motors, with 5 power yields spread among them, mated to programmed or manual transmissions. Shy of a pickup truck, Barely any vehicles offer a similar assortment in accessible exhibition or proficiency than the Civic. Our rating of 6 applies to the Civic that most customers will see on seller parts. Whenever evaluated independently, the Si and Type R would acquire another point over that. However, the bread and butter powertrains are bountiful, filling without anyone else. This year, the Civic sits tight with a decision among inline fours. The base motor in most LX, Sport, and X Civics is a 158 horsepower 2.0-liter inline four that is frequently matched to a CVT. A 6-speed manual is accessible on LX and Sport trims, and it's anything but difficult to drive, however not especially suggestive here. The base motor is splendidly fine for driving and best matched to a CVT that keeps its proficiency in near 30 miles per gallon joined, as per the EPA. The progression up motor in vehicles, cars, and standard on all hatchbacks, is a 1.5-liter turbo 4 that makes 174 horsepower, or 180 horsepower in certain trims. The Turbo 4 isn't just increasingly incredible, it's likewise progressively productive on the roadway. A few trims offer a 6-speed manual matched to the Turbo 4, and it can help tame a portion of the slack in the driveline when drivers squash on the throttle. The CVT is again the most proficient pick, yet can likewise worsen a portion of that slack. Attempt before you purchase. All Civics are skilled with particularly rigid dealing with and clean directing that make the little vehicle a delight to drive around town and around twisty streets. Turbo 4 forms get liquid-filled back bushings that hone taking care of further. We like the standard 16 or 17-inch wheels found on most models that are agreeable and calm. The 18 inches on sport and touring models look better in the Civic's little wheel curves, however can transmit more street blemishes and commotion into the lodge than most drivers might be eager to endure. Metro Si and Type R. The presentation cousins to the Civic are accessible again for 2020 and can change the base vehicle into an amazing entertainer. The Civic Si is accessible in car or car body styles, and is fueled by a 205 horsepower 1.5-liter Turbo 4. It's combined only with a 6-speed manual that brings out the most from the bustling motor. The Si turns up to 60 miles per hour in under 7 seconds and highlights 2-mode versatile dampers that switch among normal and sport settings for a firmer vibe. Summer tires are discretionary from the manufacturing plant, and a smart thought for warm climate purchasers, the little Civic Si has a major hold on twisty streets. The Civic Type R is the exhibition lord again this year, yet Honda hasn't yet definite that form. We expect a similar exhibition as years earlier, in excess of 300 horsepower from a 2.0-liter Turbo 4, 6-speed manual transmission, senseless quick. Stay tuned. The Civic's minimized impression gives a false representation of its extensive lodge. The vehicle is the most appropriate for pulling multiple grown-ups, the hatchback is the most adaptable, and the car is the sleekest. Beginning from a normal score, the Civic acquires a 6 on our Solace scale on account of its great room to breathe in the secondary lounge of cars, which we think will be increasingly mainstream among purchasers. In advance, the driver and front seat traveler have a superior view than a housetop yard. The scramble is low and the seats are agreeable, shot in solid material in LX, Sport, and X trims. Cowhide-clad, control-movable seats are accessible on XL and Touring trims. Si and Type R get their very own grippy textures. Backseat riders in the car get phenomenally great room to breathe, in excess of 37 inches, with agreeable and strong back detachable seats that will fit real grown-ups. We wouldn't prompt staying 3 wide carried grown-ups in back for long, however it works when there's no other option. The hatchback and car both have 36 creeps of extra space in the back. The vehicle brags around 15 cubic feet load room in the storage compartment, which is normal among moderate-sized cars, and useful for the Civic's minimal impression. The car gets just 12 cubic feet, and the hatchback is ruler with 25.7 cubic feet with the subsequent column set up, 46.2 with the subsequent line tumbled forward. The Civic's inside materials and quality races past its spending limit vehicle routes. A large portion of the surfaces are high caliber, with low sheen plastics and delicate inside materials, far evacuated of the obvious, exhausting, and in some cases grainy plastics from the Civic's not very inaccessible past. 3 body styles. 5 stars. And every one of them can stop themselves. That is pretty much everything to think about the Honda Civic, however we're paid by the word, so we'll include detail. Government and autonomous analyzers gave the Civic good grades for crashworthiness, including a 5-star by and large score from the feds. The FS gave the Civics, the entirety of the body styles, top grade scores on its accident battery, including both driver and traveler side little effect crashes. The Civic's standard programmed crisis stopping mechanism was likewise appraised prevalent at maintaining a strategic distance from forward accidents at 12 and 25 miles per hour. The solitary bad mark is the headlights prepared on all Civics, paying little respect to trim or body style, which rate poor. Notwithstanding programmed crisis braking, all Civics get a full suite of dynamic security highlights including dynamic path control, versatile journey control, and programmed high shafts. The 2020 Honda Civic beginnings at $20,680, which makes it a solid incentive for spending customers. We value that in the assortment that 3 body styles, Ford POW,